Charles, we have a, well, first of all, before we begin, I've been accused of, again, trying to kill you. So we're back inside.
You didn't do a good job.
No, I wasn't. It's an accusation, but it's false. And people were worried about the heat and the jacket, and they have all kinds of advice, which we're not going to go with. But I want to make sure that people know, Charles, we have an excellent and extremely important guest with us today. It's Bob Bishop, joining us from just north of the border. Bob, how are you?
Oh, I'm doing good, Jason. Thanks for having me on your show.
Well, it's great to have you on, Bob. It is. Bob has done enormously important work in the course of his career as a CPA, and then in retirement, looking at all kinds of suspicious charities and other types of frauds. He's now published a whole bunch of articles, I think, right on LinkedIn and elsewhere, which I would encourage our viewership to check into, because he's a great writer, does thorough work, and he's made lots of important contributions to the process of exposing the massive frauds that still persist across the world.
Thanks for the introduction. You left out one key point, Charles.
What's that?
I'm an involuntary dissident.
Well, explain that. Explain that.
Well, you know, if you disagree with the current administration or the Democrats, you're a dissident, you're an enemy, right? You know, what they did to Trump yesterday is no different than what they can do to you or I in the long run.
Exactly.
You know, and it's a pretty sad state of affairs.
It is. It is. But I think we're going to talk about this a bit later, but I think that backfired. What they did to Trump really backfired. And it will encourage people like you, and frankly, people like Jason, who was, you were basically a Democrat before you got into this, or if you had to pick, a Bernieite.
Yeah, I mean, I've voted Democrat. I'm trying to think if I've ever voted for a Republican before Donald Trump. I voted for, you want to keep on slow dancing.
H. Ross?
Yeah, Perot. Twice, I think I voted.
But he's independent.
Yeah, I voted for Perot. Then I voted for Obama.
Uh-oh.
Sorry.
Uh-oh. Can we send you a bill?
Yeah, it's be appropriate. But Bob has been really doing great work down at the border, interviewing people and stuff, and we wanted to have him on today. He had a great piece in the Gateway Pundit. Bob, what was the title of the Gateway Pundit piece?
It was exclusive. It was titled "Unmasking the Biden-Harris Administration."
And tell everybody what you did.
Well, you know, first of all, let's talk about San Antonio. San Antonio used to be considered picturesque. You know, you had the Alamo, you had the Riverwalk, but now we're going down an infamous trail where what San Antonio has become is an interstate human trafficking hub. And with this recent wave, we have thousands of illegal migrants coming through the city, and the city's aiding and abetting them. And we're shoving them through the city to different cities. The number one place they want to go is New York or California or Washington, D.C. So
great.
What happened is when they opened up the migrant center in early July, I went down there to see a protest, and I ran into George Rodriguez, who's a conservative Spanish talk show host. And I told George, I said, we have a great opportunity here to do something that the news media has not done, and that's to interview the migrants. And so what we did is I acted as a cameraman, and he interviewed them. We used a lav microphone, as you can see in the picture there. And what I did is I went ahead and created a little press pass. So a lot of times they'd look at my press pass and think, oh, they're legitimate. So we'd start interviewing them. And what we did is we ripped a lot of the interviews into YouTube with closed caption in English with a description of what they were discussing if you don't want to watch it. But George is really good. He disarmed them. He's a silver-tongued devil. And we put descriptions in there where if you don't want to watch the whole video, you can read the descriptions. So what was interesting is it was mostly male, which you'd expect. And the reason it's mostly male is the trip is so difficult that you got to be young and you got to be desperate to come up here to face the predatory gauntlet. So the other thing that we noticed that we just kept seeing Venezuelan after Venezuelan after Venezuelan. We're like, what in the heck is going on? And we were running into Cubans as well. So what I want to do is I want to take the viewers into a time machine back to 2017 in Venezuela. And at that time, Maduro had completely controlled Venezuela. He got rid of the Supreme Court and stacked it there. And they were at the height of their economic collapse. We had over 6 million people leave Venezuela for different countries in South America. You know, they went to Colombia, Peru, Ecuador, Chile, and the lives weren't really any better. And the UN reported that the average adult at that point in time lost over 20 pounds, and the poverty rate was 94%, which is a stunning rate. So these people are very desperate. Now we go forward to today, we have an open borders where Biden and the Harris administration are basically inviting them. So we found when we were interviewing some of the people, like in Chile, the Catholic Church was giving them money to move up towards up to Panama, and there were other different types of organizations that were out there helping them as well, which we couldn't identify. So what they do is we're having a stream of migrants coming from South America, Colombia, as well as the Venezuelans. And if you've got money, you got two different routes. If you got the money, you can take a boat and go over to Colón, Panama, on the eastern seaboard across from Panama City, or you go through the Darien Pass, which is extremely dangerous. It's 60 miles of mountains, jungle, rain, and it's a very difficult terrain that can take up to a week or more to go through those 60 miles. Very predatory. So they have a lot of bandits. They have a lot of murders that we heard in the interviews. They robbed them. And then eventually they crossed over and they went into a camp that was called Las Penitas, which is north of Panama City. It's a camp run by the UN and the USAID. Oh. Now, for those that don't know about USAID, that is a CIA organization. And back in April, we had a situation where Mayorkas and Blinken and an official from USAID went to Panama and went to that camp as a prelude to lifting, 42 up, where they could come into the country. So in June, they came through USAID to do $314 million of funding to help the migrants. It's in the article, if you can find it, Jason, where people can see it. But it's just stunning. Just scroll down. It'd be down towards the bottom. And this is how we're financing it. The U.S. government, along with UN, NGOs, keep going.
That's Barbara Bush.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Let's see.
There we go. Charities.
Yeah, keep going.
Pueblos sin fronteras.
That's it.
Oh,
right?
that's. We'll get to that. Let's keep going further down, Jason, until we find that article. There we go, right there. See the aid package I've got highlighted there. If you open it up, it demonstrates that the U.S. government is funding this. I mean, it's outrageous.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's how they're getting money. They give them money, they give them food, they give them shelter. They do all kinds of things to benefit them on their journey to the U.S.
Yeah.
Wow. And so when you think, go ahead, Jason.
Sorry, Bob. Yeah, USAID, I have heard, is widely regarded as a CIA cutout.
Oh, that's what Bob said.
So, I mean...
And it's actually part and parcel of this nefarious charity fraud scam. So what USAID will do is they'll get money from our government, our treasury, or from however they print the money up, and then they'll say that they don't have the ability to handle the operation in question, so they'll channel it to leaky charities like the Clinton Foundation, which they did when Hillary was Secretary of State. She writes about it in her book, for example, that she, in 2009, when Clinton Foundation HIV/AIDS initiative did not exist, and everybody understands that, she writes in her book bragging about how she secured $100+ million contract for USAID to give money to the Clinton Foundation to buy HIV/AIDS medicine in South Africa. So if you Bob is a gifted accountant and really good at looking at numbers and saying, this is fraud, this is what he sees what you don't see, basically, as well as the mistakes in the material. If you sick Bob Bishop loose on the USAID books and bank accounts, just for a year, just 1 year, pick any year from 2009 forward, I bet you could find at least, certainly 10 billion worth of missing money out of USAID alone, as a guess.
Oh, easily.
This is a transcript of some testimony from this person who's the director of this thing from March.
Mm.
Well, just to remind you, while we're thinking about this, in 1977, in the spring semester of 1977, I was a student, in quotes, at the University of Nairobi, Kenya. And there were 11 of us there, mostly spoiled brats, who were down there in 1977. And we had paid a certain amount of money in addition to our tuition for a travel program and this and that. And it was administered by the person in charge of that extra money was the wife, an African-American woman, the wife of the head of USAID, either for Eastern Africa or all of Africa. And this woman was so shocking back in 1977, because she was black and she was a racist. She treated the Africans the way, uneducated Southern white people may have treated blacks. It was disgusting. We had to take her aside and say, you can't talk to your driver like that. You're an idiot, you're a fool, you're stupid African. I'm like, what are you talking? Anyway, so came time for us to have these programs that we were supposed to have, and no programs. So I, being a rather, I would say, stubborn person who did not like to be cheated, flew back to America, reported this person, actually by chance got 60 Minutes interested in what was going on here. Long story short, she had to finally give us the money back. And she tried to smoke a peace pipe by inviting us all to her...
Hunter Biden's house?
Well, to the very expensive house that USAID was paying to have her husband live in, and for a barbecue. And I just said, F you, I'm not going to take your blood money. I wanted my travel program when I got here 6 weeks ago, and you're not going to make it up to me with a hamburger. So anyway, it's a long story, but the end of the story is that, scroll forward a number of years, this guy was actually fired for stealing money. So if you look at the USAID and fraud, you're going to see there's a lot of fraud. And then if you look into the World Food Program, who are you going to see is on the board of that? Hunter Biden.
He's on the USAID?
No, World Food Program, which is similar to USAID. It's a UN program.
My God.
You got to steal from the vulnerable.
Yeah.
Well, we better go break into Trump's house and find out if he has a letter from Kim Jong-un, because that's really important.
Or take a look at Melania's lingerie, which apparently Jill wanted some ideas.
Wanted to do that.
So anyhow, let's talk about how the migrants get to the border now.
Yeah.
What they do is once they went and did the trip down into Panama, Blanket and all them, the Panama government made available buses to move these migrants to Costa Rica and get them on Highway 1. Now, one of the interesting things is with the Pan American Highway, we know how many migrants are going to eventually land in Texas, a percentage of them. So, for example, Panama just mentioned the other day that there's over 60,000 migrants on their way on the Pan American Highway. That is a stunning number. That's an army. And what they do with these caravans is they always show you pictures in the news media that they're kind of like spontaneous, they're organic, but that's the furthest thing from the truth. And what they leave out is pictures of the organizers that wear the yellow vest. And like Charles mentioned, the Pueblos Sin Fronteras, towns without borders, they're the leaders. And the interesting thing about that organization is that any of the donations that they have on their website go to the Alliance for Global Justice. Now, if you go to that website and you click on there, you'll find, go on down, scroll down to the bottom for donations to click on it. And you'll see that that organization is in solidarity with Venezuela and Cuba and Nicaragua. Yeah, keep scrolling down and you'll see it at the bottom. There you go.
Alliance for Global Justice.
Yeah. Now, you know what's interesting about this group? They've got tens of millions of dollars have been flowing in since from 2020. They're big into the bail bond business, where they pay out people's bond money. And so they've got tons of money flowing into them now. There you go, Alliance for Global Justice, and that's for Venezuela. And if you go click on projects there, Jason, and scroll down and go to Venezuela Solidarity. So, is this a CIA front? Could be.
What if you hit about, and who are the trustees? It'd probably show you who the board is. Board of directors, yeah. Oh, God almighty. This guy's, I'm just seeing if I know him. Charlie McGeeso has worked as a master mason. That's good.
Ah.
John Ocampo is a labor organizer.
Remarkably similar in name to Doctors Without Borders?
On purpose.
Yeah, very similar.
Bambozi Shango.
Bamboozle.
He was born in Jamaica, grew up in Chicago.
Yeah, he's a Pan-African Revolutionary Party of Guyana. Wow.
And here's Bob Siegel. Of course, he went to Brown, MBA from Harvard.
Nash.
Yeah.
The Electronic Frontier.
And a member of Mutant Legal.
What? Where is that?
That's a law firm I'd want to use right here.
What is that?
I've never heard of it.
Oh, it's forbidden.
Yeah.
Wow.
What if you go into Google and you take Alliance for Global Justice and you do the Ortel test with fraud? You see, you might want to do it in quotes. And the front as well. Otherwise, you'll get.
I know how quotes work, Charles. Just give me a second.
Okay.
Oh, wait a minute now. Fraud and threats versus hope. Boy, that was easy.
Well, that's on their own website.
What is? Oh, okay. Wait a minute. So they're saying mass voter fraud was uncovered by the Alliance for Global Justice,
which is located right near you.
Wow, look at that. 225 East 26th Street. Let's look at this for a second. So it says fraud and threats versus hope and peace in Colombia's elections. This is from April 4th. Huh. Where does it give us that 26th Street address?
225 East 26th.
Huh, wow. Oh, it's Tucson, Arizona.
Oh, Tucson, Arizona.
So it's a little bit far.
It's farther away than I thought.
Walk.
I forgot about that part.
Well, so, I mean, this is nothing new. What, Bob, what can we do about this?
Well, if we had a Justice Department, IRS, and FBI, maybe we could do something about it. But the amount of money that's flowing into it, I'm sure I couldn't get a current tax return. I think 2020 was the latest. I'll bet you they're even getting government grants flowing into this thing.
Sure.
Yeah,
if you think about Hillary Clinton and the Democratic playbook, and to a certain extent it's Republicans as well, they always try to argue that there's a problem involving women or children or both, and we'll solve that problem. And Republicans are the fascists, the evil people, and this and that. The maintenance of an open border in a rich country like the United States of America, with all the poverty around the world, all the trouble around the world, you probably have Germans trying to get across the border soon, given what's going on in Germany, it's worse than murder, actually. It's a horrible crime to leave this border open and encourage all these desperate people to come across, create a market opportunity for the drug cartels to steal money from all these desperate people and worse, or sell people into slavery. Well, let's see. Here's the 2021.
Yeah, it ends in March, but if you scroll down and look at 2020, look at the amount of revenue difference.
So 56 million in 21, and the year under it, 6. That's kind of like the IRS. Which actually, this could be the solution. It could be one problem, this problem, a solution wrapped in one. In one, the 60,000 people coming up the Pan American Highway are going to get jobs in the IRS.
Yeah, exactly. But wait a minute.
We have to learn Spanish to have a hearing on your taxes that are due.
What do we attribute this gigantic increase between 2020 and 2021 to?
Well, yes, a lot of contributions. And if you go click on the tax return, Jason, let's go open it up and look down in the section of revenue. No, the one above it. 2021. I think we're going to see a lot of grants. No,
that full file. Okay, yeah, if we go,
download it here.
Yeah, you're going to have to download it, definitely.
Doesn't seem to want to let me do that. Oh, we could just look at it like this. So what do we want to see?
You want to go down several pages to the revenue detail. It's going to be good, maybe 5-6 pages in.
Oops.
Yeah, that's it right here. Right here. Statement of revenue. They're saying other contributions, 56 million, no government grants.
Really?
So that's what they claim.
You know, a year before that, it was an obscure charity, and now all of a sudden they got 50 million more. No way.
Well, that's just like Black Lives Matter. The same playbook.
Same thing.
It's all blank, isn't it?
Let's look at functional expenses. Grants and other assistance. So we'd be able to see a breakdown of the 44 million of grants here in a second. That's a lot of grants.
They're handing money out, in other words.
Right.
Is that to individual migrants, or
they have to give you a list of the grants? If we scroll down, there's I forget,
grant,
is it Schedule G?
Grant.
It's going to be quite a bit of scrolling. You'll get to a page where there's a bunch of names listed out. That's Schedule B. Let's see. Well, that's interesting. Restricted. Maybe that just means maybe there is a big donor and they don't want you to know who it is.
Yeah.
Allowed to,
like USAID.
Are they allowed to do that?
Well, it's a government. I mean, they do what they want.
Wow.
It's going to be quite a few pages after this. That's it. Here we go. The Action Bail Fund gets 417.
Wow.
Now, where's the
it's
address?
In the same office.
Exactly.
What the hell?
Yeah, and Alan Kwabena Frimpong, as a guess, is probably not a legitimate charity. Just taking a wild guess there.
Frimpong, no?
the famous Frimpong Foundation.
He's doing so well with ping pong.
And here's another. Look at the same address.
What the hell is going on?
Alma Wireless Solidarity Ignite, same address. And here we go. Let's see how much. Aruna Krishnakumar. It's an individual.
That's in Queens.
I know.
$5,000.
And here's the Black Alliance. Let's chuck them 10th. The Black Belt Community Foundation. Oh, right here. Black Lives Matter OKC. No such thing.
Wow.
There is no such thing. Oh my God, thing.
4.2 million, Charles.
I know. That's why I bring it up.
And then you look over in the 2 columns over, it says cash.
Holy cow. But what does that mean? That's not actual cash.
Wrote a check or a wire.
This is hilarious. I mean, these guys must be sitting around with a gigantic trash bag full of pot making this shit up. Look at this, number 16. The Bukit Bail Fund, $968,000.
Holy crap, but who did this bail out?
Probably their relatives. Colorado Freedom Fund, $1.44 million. Ugh.
Wow.
And here we have Dornithia Taylor. Again, this is probably an individual. Electra Bolitas. Is there even a block in Washington, D.C.? 6645?
I don't know.
I'm not sure it goes as high as 66th Street. And this sounds legitimate, though. Equity and Transformation, Berwyn, Illinois.
200 grand.
Or this one, For the People, 1988 Newbold Avenue, 182,000 for the people.
In the Bronx, boogie down Bronx.
And Interreligious Foundation for probably DISM. They left out the DISM. And here's the Lafayette Avenue Presbyterian Church.
Oh, Louisville Black Lives Matter got 1.1 million.
Yeah, you know what's interesting about that? That one guy that tried to murder the mayor, this money was used to bail him out.
Look at this.
What?
Movement for Black Lives, $30 million.
Holy crap.
$30 million.
Wow. This is a treasure trove, Bob.
Oh, I know. Can you imagine what the one in March of 2022 would look like?
Well, this to me seems like maybe, I don't mean to dole out work or anything, but I think this could be a great follow-on thing to go into just this 990 and say that of the 44 million of grants, we've just established, without doing a lot of heavy lifting, that close to 40 million went to Black Lives Matter that doesn't exist. And send this to Letitia James, which she's done deposing Trump.
Oh, they're mad
at him. I wonder
who
the audit firm is as we go up to the first page and look at it.
Yeah, let's look at that. It's probably...
Yeah, I'm curious. Because, we could always file a complaint with the accountancy board in Arizona. They're pretty conservative.
Yeah, let's go down the page here.
I think it's pretty easy to hire accountant tigers in Africa. Oh, but this is South America. Where'd they get the tiger?
Let's just, on this return, where it's signature of
like
Thompson Accounting Company, PLLC. You ever heard of that?
Doesn't that mean it's a law firm?
No,
it means professional.
Firm. Yeah, but at the end of the day, it's not a large firm. It's probably a local firm.
Well, let's look at that. Thompson Accounting Company in Tucson with the word fraud. I bet you, this is a self-employed person, it says. This is probably, Jimmy Thompson, Stacy Thompson.
But I don't know, that's not it. That's just somebody named Stacy Thompson who's an accountant.
Well, here's the Thompson Accounting Company in Better Business. Vivian Thompson, maybe?
Well,
it's not accredited by the Better Business Bureau. That's the one right there. It's Vivian Thompson.
Yeah, go to the website. That's always insightful.
Taking care of your money. Yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah,
a lot of good stock photography on the website here.
Yeah.
Is there anything about Vivian Thompson in here, or about her background? Champion team. Here we go.
Oh my God.
Not very diverse.
But it doesn't say really. Oh, here we go. So you will notice right away. It doesn't say who is Vivian. It must be her, though, right?
Yeah.
This is her, Vivian?
I don't know. Doesn't say. She is enjoying. Wait. Vivian got her CPA certificate in 1994. She's got a son.
Who made the website?
Studying Chinese.
With Eric Swalwell. So why don't we Google Vivian Thompson CPA and Tucson and fraud and see what comes back.
Sure.
This reeks.
Uh-oh. That's Facebook, so that's just going to be somebody kind of reporting on her.
Yeah.
Can't control your finances, warning. Not really. Here, wait. Here's her profile. I don't know. We're not really.
No results. Well, maybe, to me, it looks like she may be a fair-minded individual, but this is a small firm that does not have the ability to check, and
This
obviously didn't check.
This huge multi-million-dollar thing.
Well, the donations to Black Lives Matter. I mean, what diligence did she do? I mean, if you had the responsibility for checking this return and deciding if you wanted to sign your name to it, you'd ask for a list of the 5 biggest grants.
Well, yeah, and the other thing about grants, when you hand out money, they need to do a report back to the nonprofit to justify the money.
Oh, come on.
And as an audit firm, you would want to look at those reports.
Well, but the justification is actually quite easy, Bob. I mean, mansions cost money, man.
Exactly.
My Benzo needs gas, bro. That's not going to fill itself.
Actually, she's buying an EV. She's not buying a gas car.
Good point.
Probably. But is there a Black Lives Matter Oklahoma City? Well, that was the entity that they supposedly gave money to? OKC, I think it was said. There we are. I mean, it's an extension of the global BLM movement, kind of like the guy in Washington Square Park the other day who had a fake computer and was raising money for Black Lives Matter. This whole spiel down of a picture of his dead daughter. Founded in 2016. I call bullshit on that.
#1 in the nation for law enforcement killings of civilians?
I don't believe that.
I'd like to see some.
Donate to BLM OKC. Let's see what happens with this.
Yeah, it'd probably be.
It's a project of the Alliance for Global Justice. So wait a minute.
Wow.
That's interesting.
Well, why? What does that mean?
Well, you go ahead, Bob.
Circulus. Giving them the money and then they turn around and say that we're a project of it?
Well, I was going to say that if Alliance for Global Justice is raising money for Black Lives Matter Oklahoma City, it's in essence doing that as a fiscal sponsor of this entity that doesn't exist. So this is really bad. This is the federal fraud. This is, Arizona into Oklahoma City. Does it have anything in this site here about the company itself, like financials, anything? About, in the About section there.
It did not have anything. About is just this.
In the beginning, there was the word, and the word is blmokc.com. Who owns blmokc.com?
Looking for that right now. We want to go to...
Do you think we have more or less resources than the IRS and the FBI, the three of us together?
Got a lot of computers on this table over here.
Well, Charles, I would say we have more brain power.
Yeah.
Right? We may not have the money, but...
I mean, this is just so transparently fraudulent. And BLM in 2016 wasn't that much of a thing, right? It only became very well known in 2020. So actually, we can do another thing. BLM OKC, Oklahoma, I know, has a good charity website. We can see if it's...
So do what?
Well, let's find out what you were... I'm waiting for you to get the answer on the...
Trying to find the who is here. There we go.
Yeah, we'll see that first. And then we could go from that to Secretary of State, Oklahoma, charity search, and see what we find. But I know that we tripped up a number of different operations in Oklahoma because their filing requirements are quite strict and they keep details forever on the site that you can look at. All right.
What does this say here?
Okay, created in 2020. That's interesting.
Domains by proxy, so we're not going to easily... Well, wait a minute. This seems like a GoDaddy, maybe. Tempe, Arizona. Let's just take a look here.
So yeah, they probably got into the business of scamming money by 2020, and then to inflate their history said that they started the thing in 2016.
It's difficult for me to read over there. Not finding it. Come on.
$2020.
Doesn't give us anybody's name though.
Yeah, a good place to go is the IRS search. And see, and if they're valid, then we should be able to see, a lot of the documents.
Okay.
Tax returns. So if you just type in IRS search charity, I use that a lot. A lot of times you get some good data out of it.
Okay.
Oh, funny. BLM Oklahoma City founder brings up the. Oh, wait a minute. Here we go. Oklahoma Black Lives Matter leader speaks about the group's motives.
In 2016.
The motives are to get cash. So in an exclusive interview, Black Lives Matter Oklahoma Executive Director T. Sherry Dickerson explained her reason for starting the movement's chapter. I don't want my children or myself to be a hashtag anymore, Dickerson said, peering from behind her faux wood-rimmed glasses. Huh. Well, all right, so now we know her name. Bob, you wanted to look at this, right? IRS.
Yeah, let's go in and type in the name of the organization there. Search for exempt. And then go up into the middle box and do the drop down in the middle where it says employer identification number. Go over there and click on the drop down organization name. Go to the right, type it in. We're there.
Nothing.
Wow.
Let's try BLM.
Yeah.
Huh.
Is this a good sign, Bob?
Not usually. A lot of times I don't set it by state. I just run a broad name and then you cycle down through the names. Generally, there's not that many BLM organizations listed on the site for the IRS.
But there's a million of them.
Yeah, there's a special site, Oklahoma Charity Search.
Is this it?
I get to it a different way, but yeah, that one. Okay, search by name. Okay, put the name in.
You want BLM or Black Lives Matter?
We'll try both.
Ooh, Blake.
There's no BLM, so let's try Black Lives Matter.
Wait, there's Black women entrepreneurs.
They do it alphabetical, so.
Huh.
Okay, that's Global Network. That's not the. Let's see what pops up when you hit that.
This?
Yeah, this is not the Oklahoma City one, I don't think. Oakland, yeah, this is the one that I think, Bob, you did a piece or two on this, didn't you?
Well, no, actually, you and I collaborated with Gateway Pundit, and I did do a piece in Corsi Nation with Jerry Corsi. But if you recall, we found out that the Susan Rosenberg was getting the money. They were a financial advisor for BLM, and right. She was the vice chairman of Thousand Currents. And then when you and I went public, you did a tweet and we had Gateway Pundit do it. They suddenly ripped her off the board and then transferred the financial advisory over to the Tides Foundation. Mm-hmm. I mean, that thing was dirty as can be.
Well, let's do this. Yeah, we can look at that for a second. But if we go into open corporates, let's put Black Lives Matter in Oklahoma and see if anything comes up. The reason we're doing all this for the audience is that in America, in theory, in our America that we're all living in, and ever since we've had an IRS and charity laws, individuals are not allowed to style themselves as charities and raise money, even if the cause is fantastic. You have to be an organization. And we're going to find out, I think, if we... You're doing officer? Oh, yeah.
Well, I'm looking for this woman.
No officers.
This woman, T. Sherry Dickerson, I put in, and she doesn't show up.
Yeah, I mean, she's a straight... It would appear that she is a straight-up con artist. And that these accountants at the Alliance for Global Justice, frankly, they don't have a CPA. They have a DGAS. You know what that is, Jason?
A dumb... I don't know.
Don't give a shit.
So here's all kinds of BLM.
Well, look, do the one. There's none in Oklahoma.
But isn't there a way for me to now restrict this to Oklahoma?
But you can see filtered by jurisdiction, then look at jurisdictions. There's nobody in Oklahoma.
Wow. So that's BLM. Let's try Black Lives Matter.
You've got two T's.
Oh, do I?
You need to. Okay, now we look at Oklahoma. No Oklahoma.
Wow. So it looks like she just made a website and started getting money.
Yeah, and then this is just hilarious. All Black Lives Matter. What else can we do? All Black Lives Matter Limited, because that'll really go over big in Alaska. Black Kids Lives Matter. Put the ink in, right? Black Lives Also Matter Limited. That's in the UK.
Wow, look at how many of these there are. Black Lives Matter at Sea. What's that about? Going on a cruise.
Especially in the Caribbean. There's a broadcasting network.
Wow.
And here's the charitable trust.
It's Ohio. Construction.
And there's 5 pages of this.
Oh, there's more than that, I'll bet. Click on 5 and I think we'll see more.
Yeah, I think you're right.
6.
It's going to be like a dozen.
Now you got to create an account.
Oh, geez.
Well, I don't
Black
know.
Lives Matter Farm, LLC.
Well,
Black Lives Matter Film Corporation of America.
my goodness. What do you guys think about all this?
Well, this is what happens when you don't have an IRS and a Department of Justice. I mean, this is just doing such a disservice to the movement to try to have racial justice, to try to help black people. I mean, you see this kind of nonsense go on. How can you believe that even a legitimate organization is legitimate when you see all this crap?
Yeah.
Well, think about the amount of money that the IRS could raise just doing a bounty. You get $500 billion in audits that would recover those assets.
And give it to Ukraine. No, we give it to the Ukraine.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
As usual, Bob, this is a platinum mine, not just a gold mine.
Yeah.
This is just one case that Bob has been looking into.
Well, just think about the amount of money that's pouring in now this year for the migrants.
Yeah. You mean for the cartels?
Yeah.
In the name of the migrants, for the cartels.
Yeah.
So, Bob, have you observed any changes just around your town from this migration? I mean, obviously, we're seeing tons of garbage, the cops doing nothing here in New York. Any observable changes?
It is the same way. I wrote a scathing piece about the migrant center that they purchased the CPS building, the City Public Service building. I did it in Gateway. Did an expose showing that it was bought in November of 2021. And the individuals, when I was looking at the Sun's Facebook page, they're from Monterrey, Mexico. They bought it for $5.3 million and had $4 million of cash equity in a deal in a 62-year-old building. I mean, it was crazy. And then the next thing you know, they're having what they call a consent agenda in June. And they went ahead and approved all this. Consent agenda is for non-controversial items, and they funded the damn thing. And it was all hidden. And that's a picture of a car I took. Look at all the male migrants. I hope those aren't females in the car.
What are they doing?
They're practicing to be in the circus. How many of these can you get?
Look at all the hands.
That's
Maybe
a woman driving, it looks like.
Yeah. Look at it. It's crazy.
But they have, so did they give them this clothing? I mean, these guys look like they're wearing new sneakers and stuff, not...
Yeah, they give them clothing, they give them food. I think some of them were even handing out, debit cards.
What?
I mean, it's crazy. There's the old building. Look at that. Made in 1962. They paid
maintained, Bob.
$5.3 million for that. You got to give me a break.
I like the parking spaces. They're very kind of nouveau Art Deco or something.
Yeah, that was back in the old days when the cars leaked a lot out of their oil tank.
Yeah.
Well, those are Black lives that matter.
Black oil stains matter.
Yeah. But, I detailed it all. It was just absolutely crazy what they do. They're getting $112,000 a month. And the language is so screwed up in the language in the lease that I got from the Open Records Act. I couldn't tell if it was a 5-year or 10-year lease. And then I got a copy of the FEMA grant, and that shows the city how they're using it. And if you look at it, look at the overtime salaries for the police.
Wow.
Oh, absolutely outrageous. And
then contractual services. Who's that?
Yeah. Now look at the rental facilities. This is 6 months, and they're paying $677,000 to those guys that own the CPS. Where'd the other $2 million go? I couldn't answer it.
Oh. This is amazing. There's just so much money being stolen.
Yeah, and that's FEMA money. They create the problem, and then they try to come up with a solution. Yeah, scroll down and see if there's some more I had in that article. Yeah, I got the occupants. 700 people can stay in that facility. And what's interesting is they never zoned it right. They had to go back and rezone it the other day. That's a group that I took a picture shooting down at them.
There's some women.
Yeah, I was going to say, all of the pictures I've been seeing lately are all just men in their 20s.
Yeah, they had women and families there. You notice that none of them are emaciated.
Yeah, this guy looks pretty well fed. So does this person.
Yeah. Scroll down further. Up. Right there. Look at the UN rights violation. It says the crime of human trafficking consisted of 3 core elements: the act, the means, and the purpose. Well, guess what? The U.S. and the UN are human trafficking according to that definition.
Yeah, wow. It's just...
I mean, it's obvious.
Yeah.
Now, one of the other things, I did another article, Jason, that I sent you a link on, that I went down to the Rio Grande when the Supreme Court lifted Title 42. I took a friend down and we did we carried guns with us just in case going down to the border. And when I was going down to the river, we had concealed permits, so we were hiding them. The Border Patrol did not want me to go down there. I said, hey, I'm writing an article for Gateway Pundit. I'm a journalist. He says, okay, go on down there, but do not interact with the migrants.
Why is that?
Because then you learn the truth.
Well, you don't know who you're dealing with. You could be dealing with the cartel. And when I went down to the riverbanks, they were just trash everywhere. They had wristbands that were cut off that the cartel had used to identify and move them for a fee. There was all kinds of drugs laying around, antibiotics because a lot of them get sick, shoes, backpacks. I mean, it was horrendous. If you go back to that email and go down to the bottom, I think we can find the article. I can show you pictures that I took.
To this one?
Keep going. No, keep going. Oh, you open it up into a different one. Yeah, so it was an email that I had sent you.
I think this was the email. I put it into a document.
You stripped that out because it's not an email at that point.
Right. He took the body out of the email.
Sorry about that. Where would I find this?
It's
New
in
article on
the
human trafficking. Okay, I see this here.
And if you scroll down, I've written a number of articles about all this.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Tickets from San Antonio to Baltimore, is that it?
Well, we can go to there first. I went to the airport. Open that up, Jason. Let the public see what the airport looks like. I mean, it's a disaster.
All right, sorry.
There we go.
The LinkedIn one? TGB border exclusive?
Boy, it's so hard to... Yeah, sorry, I screwed up that link there. It's just so difficult to get these things to come up on Google.
Well, there's a reason for it, obviously.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, hang on a second. Let me get back to this email here and You guys keep chatting. I'll get it going.
So what's the political climate like there, Bob, now in San Antonio?
Well, I wrote a scathing piece about the mayor. The mayor is a Marxist. Originally, he went and got a master's at University of Pennsylvania Annenberg School of Public Relations, if you want to call it that. And he worked as a director for the Annenberg Foundation. Well, some of your viewers may be aware that the Annenberg Foundation funded Obama as he started as a community organizer, as well as the terrorists there in Chicago. What was his name?
Weather Underground, Bill Ayers.
Well, they funded the Clinton Foundation too.
Yeah, and so what happened is he transplanted back here, became a city councilman, and now he's the mayor, and he's very compassionate to the migrants. I could really go deep into the stuff. He marched with BLM. They genuflected in the city council and raised their fist. It was a horrible situation. Let's see.
Here.
I think that's the one we just looked at. Oh, there we go. But, I followed this group here going through the airport to see how they cleared, TSA. If you look at them, they look like a bunch of college students.
Yep.
But the lady in the blue vest is part of the Interfaith Welcome Coalition, which is a leftist group here in San Antonio that the city of San Antonio has given grants to. I mean, it's ridiculous. You scroll down, you'll see these big mobs. Keep going. You'll see these big mobs just hanging in the airport waiting for their flights. Look at that. Look at the blue bags that the charities gave them. And this is mostly women in this one, but a lot of times you'll have men.
Where are they flying to?
Baltimore.
Well, with this case that I tracked, I actually took a snapshot of his boarding pass and got the STIPC bond release.
Holy cow.
Yeah, and what they do is that's an unsecured bond and then go anywhere in the United States for over a year. And
what?
Yeah, and Homeland Security and other charities are paying for their flights. That's going to Baltimore in the left-hand corner where you see BWI.
Yep.
And so they were all boarding to go on Southwest. Think about it. You're on a flight and you got illegal migrants sitting next to you on the flight. And for all we know, they could have TB. Now, if you click on that, you'll see how they're clearing the customs. There's the lady leading them through. But look at them. They look like a college group.
They
look happy.
Yeah.
Well, you bet.
Hair dyed and stuff.
Yeah.
Where are these migrants from?
Venezuela.
Huh.
But see, this area right here is where the pilots and the employees clear. On the right side over there, that's where the regular people on general TSA clearance. And all they did was take a picture and they went on through. They didn't go through the regular rigmarole of going through, getting screened. They didn't take their shoes off. They didn't do anything.
Look at how fat these TSA guys are.
Oh, I know. Look, he just took a picture. She doesn't even have an ID with her. All she's got is that bond.
How does this guy have a big gold chain? See, you'll see in a second on the left, the guy's got a huge gold chain. You'll see it.
There's just so much wrong with all of this.
Oh, it is. And, they get preference. You and I couldn't go through premium clearing.
Well, what is
right
it?
Nah, it just looks like plastic beads.
It's probably cocaine.
I don't know about that, but it could be anything. Whoops. We got some more articles there, Bob.
Yeah, if you want to scroll up, you'd ask the question about the mayor. Let's see, keep going. I think I had an article in there about the mayor. No, that's the one. Well, I did an expose on the mayor. I really want to take the viewers through the mayor on the one article I wrote.
Sure.
Because there's something that's very key that people need to realize it's going to go on in every city.
Is it at the very top?
Yeah, I think it could be.
Let's see. We've done this one already, both of these.
Yeah. Well, if you type in Gateway Pundit and type in Ron Nuremberg, I think we'll get the article. This is an expose I did detailing what's going on in San Antonio with this.
It's not this one, Jason, but it's
No,
right
it's
below
not
it.
that one.
Here you go. This one?
Yep. So I went ahead and used his slogan, "Building the City You Deserve."
It's true.
We only have 12% of the people go out and vote in these elections. But if we scroll down, Jason, I want to show the public what they're doing on how they allocate resources. Keep going. There's bullet lists that I have.
Yep.
Stop right there. If you click on the equity maps that you see right there in the mid of the screen right there, click on that. This is insidious. And this is the first city to do it. If you click on that and open up the map, what they're doing is doing an equity score. And this is the first city. It's a trial that they're going to be doing, that they're going to move to other cities. So what they do is they look at people of color. English is not the first language. They have a high school education or less, or they're lower than the median income. So like in my district, we were annexed by the city and we're a professional class. We have the worst equity score. Well, according to the mayor in the city, if you have a low equity score, you're not entitled to resources. Those resources are going to go down to the lower part of the city where you see those dark colors. Now, what's interesting about all this, how this equity map got put together, and you can click on one of these, go up to the above towards the top of it and click on one of those white ones. And we'll open up and look at some equity scores here. If they're white, they get a bad equity score. Yeah, which means they're awful. It means you're too white, you're too well-to-do, you speak English as the first language. Guess what? We're not going to fix your roads. Now, what is interesting about all this is it's PolicyLink, which is funded by the Bill Gates Ford Foundation. It's also tied into the Annenberg Foundation, where our mayor used to work and went to college.
Now, Bob, do you have a passport?
Yes, I do, but I don't have a duplicate, another one. I need to get another one.
Well, have you checked to see whether that passport is actually in the name of Venezuela? Because I think it looks like San Antonio has been taken over by Venezuela. This is crazy.
Oh, absolutely. Well, you look at it. If you go back to my article, I want to show you something, Jason. And scroll, let's see. Scroll down where that last bullet, where it says during the 2022 bond hearings. And if you read that paragraph, he says we wouldn't be able to correct 40 years, 50 years, 75 years of inequity. Our goal is to deliberately move this community towards equity anytime we allocate a resource. Well, that's identity Marxism. And think about the city. We're only 23% white. We're the minority, not the majority. So he's discriminating against us.
But Bob, that's math. I mean, just because by definition, white people are in the majority.
Yeah.
This is by definition, right? Just like black people can't be racist.
Yeah.
I mean,
but down below, you see the equity dog whistle.
Yep.
And you click on PolicyLink and click on that link, Jason, and read about PolicyLink up there. So
first sentence, yeah.
Right there. I mean, it's crazy. See, Charles, this whole thing of data management by Bloomberg. Bloomberg's tied into this as well. We got a grant from the Bloomberg Foundation for data. And so what they're doing is they're using the data subjectively against us. It's not objective at all. And they justify their discrimination and their laws based on flawed data and saying, well, this is objective and this is how we made the law.
Did Kamala Harris write this sentence?
She could have.
The Equity Manifesto states, it begins by joining together, believing in the potency of inclusion and building from a common bond. Give me another drink. Miss, what is this?
Well, it's
yeah,
but what they're trying to do, Charles, is they're trying to institute this in every city in the United States. Think about it.
Is there an about section of this? Yeah, about is up there in the top. Let's look and see who the board is here. Staff board, second from the bottom. Jeffrey Canada. Does this seem diverse to you?
Well, there's no white people, so I think by that definition it is, and it's women. Although I'm not a biologist.
You sure?
I mean, I don't know. Who do we need to determine who is or isn't a biologist?
Okay, but now let's see. Is PolicyLink have any kind of financial statements and about us? Does it have, or is it? This is FraudLink.
Well, they are a nonprofit.
Are they?
Yeah.
Do they file 990s?
If we go to ProPublica, we can open it up and type in PolicyLink.
I'm sure we'll find that it's rigorously
vetted, audited,
best practices. That's person's name. I think you want to put in the next one down. PolicyLink, one word, yeah.
Oops. Oh.
These are people who gave to it.
Yeah, we see that Rockefeller, Casey Foundation, they're notorious.
Gates
Bill
Foundation.
and Melinda Gates. Ooh. Well,
yeah, I'm telling you, this is one crooked organization that's working against us.
Let's look at JP Morgan Foundation. Let's look at two, not three. And that should, if PolicyLink is, Kresge Foundation is notorious. Okay, here's PolicyLink. So we've got the Form 990 for 2000. That's you want the Form 990, actually. Go back to the...
Not good?
Yeah. The Form 990.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. Let's see. Okay. This is in Oakland, California.
Look at their phone.
BLM was there, right?
Right.
All right.
Let's see.
McAfee.
Oakland. It's $10 million, $12 million of contribution and grants. And $8 million in salaries.
Seems high.
Armanino.
What they're doing is creating a lot of propaganda that the cities use.
Is Armanino, is that a serious accounting firm?
Jeez. Could be Venezuelan.
If you go to let's go down to the, as we did before, the revenue section and the expense section. Look how much they're paying themselves. CEO, $274,000.
It's kind of a lot, no?
The founder in residence, $280,000.
Oh, she is absolutely notorious if you go look her up.
Angela Glover Blackwell?
Oh, yeah. You got to open that one up on her.
Blackwell Lives Matter.
Yeah, I looked at her. She's something else.
And the CFO left and was replaced.
Yeah, hit Wikipedia.
Second one.
Her hair is racist. It's white.
Hosts the podcast Radical Imagination.
Oh, wow. So But she's an attorney. So is she hanging out with Bernadine Dorn and Bill Ayers?
Very well could be.
The curb cut effect.
She founded the Urban Strategies Council
Of Oakland, yeah.
Berkeley School of Law.
Rockefeller Foundation.
And she founded PolicyLink, which we're looking at.
Been a lot on television, media.
Yeah.
She got an honorary degree there. This is really the kind of, this was reflective of fantastic writing and great editing. You name a book, Uncommon Common Ground. Yeah.
Brilliant.
Yeah. Hey, Jason, let's go back to my article. I want to show the public other things about the San Antonio.
Where did that go?
That's the research center. Well, it was the one about Nuremberg.
Yeah.
Which you got to by Google.
Yeah.
Second one.
Here we go.
Okay, let's scroll down. I want to show the public some other things that are going on in San Antonio, and you'll understand why we're a hub of human trafficking. So what they do is they join, and we fund out of our city taxes racial organizations. So if you scroll up one more paragraph, right there, race conscious programming there. So if you scroll down a little bit back to where we were at, what they did is they hold these seminars for the employees, and they have this organization. All the cities in the United States are join, and it's called GARE, the Local Regional Government Allowance. It doesn't exist. Yeah, it's part of a radical organization, and it's a donor advisory of this other organization. These cities, I made an issue where they're paying these annual fees for racial equity tools to use in the cities, and the organization doesn't even exist.
They have an advisory group and a steering committee. They probably have initiatives.
Huh.
Here we go. Oh, of course. Amara Ansari, the network engagement manager.
It should be Amara Ansari, not sorry.
Director of Online Community. I mean, they're just making these titles up.
Oh, yeah.
Again, I don't see this as being awfully diverse.
Oh, look there at the right, John Powell.
Who's he?
I think he's a notorious race hustler, if I remember right.
What does it say his title is?
Director, Othering and Belonging.
God, there cannot be something called the Othering and Belonging Institute. I mean, you got to be kidding me. I bet you if we put that into ProPublica the same way you did for PolicyLink, you'll find out who gave money to it.
Here it is. There he is. Give us money.
It's affiliated with Berkeley.
Yeah.
So
but I imagine Act Blue collects the donations.
Our Story, yeah. It's at the University of California, so it's affiliated with a large tax-exempt institution.
Well, it's also the University of California, Berkeley's tied into PolicyLink. Yeah. I mean, these things are all interconnected.
Yeah, it says the first name was the Haas Institute for a Fair and Inclusive Society. The Haas family, I forget which, Walter and Evelyn Haas. From memory, they give money to the Clinton Foundation as well.
Yeah,
for some reason, when you walk into a bar in Chicago, the guy is likely to say, "What can I get you, Haas?" I'm like, "What the hell is that?" It's a Chicago thing I obviously don't know about.
Look at that, multidisciplinary research.
This is, a degree in word salad.
Yeah, Buzz.
Chopped.
Buzzwords.
You go into Chopped, order your salad, get a diploma. Chopped being a chain of salad stores here in New York. Now, here and about, does it list? It has nothing. People, let's see. It has director John A. Powell.
Where is shouldn't he have
staff?
3 directors? If he's got a nonprofit staff.
There's nothing. As a guest, there is no such thing. Of course, you got to have a chief of staff. Poo Nane Forbes.
But there is no staff. Oh, here's the staff.
A data scientist. I mean, how do you go home? You go to a bar, and I don't know if she's trying to, if her thing is men or women or who knows what. You're not sure what the gender is. Somebody says to you, well, I'm curious what you do during the day. What's your job? Well, I'm a belonging coordinator.
Oh.
So you're a thief? You're a masseuse? I mean, what is that?
This is a big staff.
I don't see many. The only person in charge of metrics is a guy. And they have senior fellows. And Richard Rothstein.
It's a huge staff, huh?
Yeah.
Well, you got to, if you're going to other and belonging, I mean, othering is a big job.
I don't know.
They have a merch store, Jason.
Where do you see that?
Right here.
You want to get like a But Her Emails t-shirt?
Othering and featured products. $23 for a t-shirt.
Well, yeah.
This is a hoodie, useful in robbing.
I'm not impressed.
Well, that's a thermos. Mugs. Are your mugs cheaper?
No, I don't. I think the mugs are about $20.
Uh-oh.
It's kind of a lot for a mug. Well, so I don't know, Bob. What do you think is next?
Well, let's go back to that article. I want to show the public even more. This doesn't end. I mean, it goes deep when you look at that article with Nuremberg that I did.
That's it.
There you go.
Okay. So Race Ford is the entity that controls GARE. Click on that one. It's donor advisory for that.
They've decried the overturn of Roe v. Wade.
If you go to Race Ford, the main page, there you go. There's our mission, our vision.
They catalyze movement building for racial justice. Why is it always so unclear what they do?
Because you don't need to know that. I mean, what they do is they scam large amounts of money using word salads and relying on the accountants not to check any of their work.
Yeah, and think about this. There's like 2,500 municipalities that pay money to GARE that goes to this organization. There's no accountability. You go look at the tax return, and there's no disclosure that they're running a donor advisory for GARE. So these cities are idiots. It's almost like you're paying tribute to these racial organizations.
See the board. Oh, Jesus Christ. The director of the Alliance for a Just Society. Richard Kim, editor of The Nation, is a disaster.
Well, it appears on MSNBC, so it must be legitimate.
Oh, he's been on, with Steve Kornacki and Melissa Harris Perry and Distinguished Taconic Fellow. What's a Taconic Fellow?
Well, that's a good question.
Lori Bizalher. Ron Schiffman, I think I've heard of that name.
Yeah, probably an appropriate name. Right? Shifty. Oh.
But they have an MD, an and a master of public health there. What is she doing there? Health equity.
Christy Tran, vice chair. Okay, so Robert Wood Johnson Foundation is a big funder of Alliance for a Healthier Generation.
Yep.
Rodney Foxworth.
She lives in Brooklyn.
Common Future. Wait. A national intermediary and network of frontline leaders, impact investors, and philanthropists working to build an equitable and inclusive economy. Oh, the Skoll World Forum, that's another disaster.
Oh.
Aspen Institute.
Oh, I don't like that. This is a huge organization, a lot of people.
Yeah, and think about all the money they're getting from all these cities. And then what they do is they create some type of equity program that the city puts on for their employees. If you think about it, it creates biases against various racial groups, white, male, Christian.
Yeah.
I mean, it's crazy. Now, keep going. We're going to go down to some more organizations that San Antonio is involved with. And these are other organizations that are other cities that are involved with. You know, they go through, ICLEI is notorious. This was founded in Europe. They call it Local Governments for Sustainability. And what they try to do is they're tied in. They originally were tied in with the UN, and what they want to do is go vertical in cities. They want these biodiverse areas around cities, and they don't want suburbs.
Let's look at About Us, Jason, on the right. On the right. And again, do they have a board?
Oh, yeah.
Leadership.
The funny thing about this is that it's in Colorado, and they're not properly organized in the state of Colorado.
Of course not. Frank Clowney. I got that wrong.
We just had the same thought. He's the mayor of Des Moines.
Yeah.
And he's the U.S. president.
Well, our mayor's on some of these committees in San Antonio as well. He's in here. And they advertise it on the city website.
The city of Malmö, Sweden. Now, from memory, I believe Malmö, Sweden is the scene of some of the worst rioting, raping, murder, etc.
Yeah.
So let's put this idiot as first vice president of this fraud.
Well, just quickly on Malmö, this thing says 3,709 reported crimes with hate motivation. 169 were in Malmö. 222 in 2016.
I think if you were to put into Google Malmö and rape, you would find, is Malmö the rape capital of Europe?
Yeah, and this is a woman that's going to help organize our cities in America.
Well, this is now making sense.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, it's crazy. And that's exactly why we're a human trafficker hub here in San Antonio.
Wow. This says the reality check is, yes, it is the capital of rape.
Well, we were talking yesterday in our walk around, Bob. We went up to Trump Tower, and I think I made the comment either there or on a radio program Jason and I did yesterday with Lee Stranahan and Sputnik, that Newt Gingrich, the speaker, had a contract for America, and Joe Biden has a contract on America.
Yeah.
That's what they've done. They've taken out a contract on America, and we're just laughing, tolerating this crap. Today, Joe Biden, they signed, I don't know if they've signed that Inflation Reduction Act yet, but they think they've got it passed. Today, the inflation came out at, I thought it said 8.5%, but Biden got up there and said, inflation in July is now 0.
What?
No, it's not.
No.
What is he talking about?
I don't know. He promptly went on vacation.
He did say that. You go to Gateway Pundit, I think it's the lead story.
The 0?
Yeah, scroll down till we find him.
Wow.
Oh, go! Oh, great. Hunter's going to South Carolina
running.
too.
He's like, can we point this thing to China? Armed and fit federal agents willing to use deadly force.
Great.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure they're dying to use deadly force.
Well, if you go to open the books and type in about the executive branch having all these weapons, you'll find out that the IRS is well armed in that report.
I don't doubt it. And that's a very kind of like dictator type thing to just suddenly add 87,000 new employees to what is obviously going to become some new form of federal, it's the money police, right?
Yeah, but you wonder if they're going to get any training at target practice as well.
I think you get training with battering rams to burst into people's houses.
Yeah.
Like they did with Donald Trump. Well, should we go back to this?
Let's go back to the article. I want to show the public even more about San Antonio. I think they'll find it interesting. Okay, we've talked about ICLEI. Let's scroll down. One of the things let's stop for a minute, Jason. I want to go back up to ICLEI. I just had a thought. If you look at that last paragraph, what they're trying to do is they're trying to use eminent domain to control the city. The conservative easements, habitat conservation, strict zoning regulations. Those are ordinances that take your property rights from you. It's confiscation is what they're trying to do. It's hideous.
You're certainly marketing the potential move that Jason had been planning down to San Antonio well. I'm sure he's right after we finish, he's going to pack up the apartment and.
Yeah. Now let's keep scrolling down further. It gets more interesting. Keep going. Right there. UN Agenda 21 isn't a conspiracy theory. It turns out that they have a sustainability report for 2030. They've renamed it to 2030. In the next paragraph, I document that the city of San Antonio is the case study for 2030 for the agenda. Incredible. You open that up, they're mentioned 16 times if you do a search in the PDF that we're the case study for the UN. And of course, it explains the migrants coming through San Antonio.
Wow. That's really, well, wait a minute.
You type case study, if you type San Antonio, you'll get 16 hits.
Huh. City of San Antonio developed and implemented a methodology to map the targets and goals. The city is already meeting and has begun an internal detailed review of specific programs implementing the SDGs.
And to look at the last sentence, the goal is to create SDG toolkit for other cities.
What was SDG again?
Sustainable Development Goals.
Yeah.
Got it.
In other words, they want to own everything. They want to control it.
Yeah, this is some kind of cancer here.
Yeah, but I mean, you dig into it. I suggest other people, they go to their city and go through the website, you'll find very similar situations of ICLEI, GARE, UN. People don't believe it, but when you look at it, it's incredible. Now, one of the interesting things that I was involved with, I was on the committee for the bond, and I was on the street committee. And in the first meeting, they were trying to strip half of our money in my district because we had a low equity score. I mean, that's when I really got, worked up and started digging into it. I actually spoke out in the next meeting against equity scores, and I had other districts speak out with me against it. That the need is based on how much traffic we have, how bad the roads are, is it in front of a school? It's not based on equity scores. But that's what they're trying to do in these cities with data. It's insidious.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Wow. My mind is reeling.
Yeah. Anything else we want to look at in the article here, Bob?
No, other than I just said, what is the cure for Marxism? And I think it's the only way is civil rights lawsuits, as well as people, in marginalized areas like where I live come out for an historic vote, for the mayor and other people, and we'll avoid getting some of these people. Quite frankly, that equity score violates the 14th Amendment of Equal Protection, as well as Article 1 of the Texas Constitution. It is a classic civil rights case that could be brought up.
Well, how does, just to continue this flood of bad news, how well is Beto O'Rourke doing? Is he going to be your next governor?
I don't really think so. I think, given all the issues, that we have inflation, open border, I just don't see it.
And are you nervous about Eric Adams' threat to send New Yorkers down to go door to door?
Yeah, I saw that.
Is that going to go well, do you think? If he sends a bunch of New Yorkers, to come into Texas and start knocking on people's doors and tell them to vote for Beto, you think that'll help Beto?
I don't think anybody answered the door.
It was saying earlier today, yeah, they're trading barbs, and then the smartest man in New York City, aka Eric Adams, he's decided he's just sending them back. Be a true American. He's razzing Governor Abbott. But I saw an article earlier today that said that Eric Adams was going to just send them back on a bus.
To where? San Antonio?
Back to Texas. Yeah. Here, it says, feeling lucky Eric. Abbott dares Adams to make my day in migrant war. I thought they didn't want to politicize these people because they're people. Yeah. Governor Greg Abbott said Mayor Eric Adams is merely getting a taste of what beleaguered border communities have been dealing with in Texas. So I guess this is the response to Eric Adams wanting to send people back.
Well, I love the fact, I'm sure it got publicity in Texas there, Bob, but I love the fact that Adams decided he'd have a publicity stunt and show up when the bus arrived at 7 a.m. to find the bus was less than half full because the migrants had gotten off. They were too afraid to come into Manhattan because the crime is so bad in Manhattan.
Yeah.
They're smart.
Yeah.
Look at the new shoes.
Yeah. It's a very...
Well, this is great work, Bob. You've been very generous with your time. You've given us much more than you said you wanted allotted to this. I hope you're going to keep up with this investigative work.
Yeah, I'm going to continue, and I'm working on a case right now where I'm trying to get the details of the spreadsheet of where all the migrants are going from San Antonio, believe it or not.
Wow.
If I get that, that'll be a jewel.
I'm sure you will get it. You're pretty persistent.
Yeah. So anyhow, I'm going to drop off and let you guys continue with your dialogue. I know you've got other topics that you want to cover.
Thanks so much, Bob. Great work.
Thanks for joining us, Bob. Great to have you, and yeah, really amazing work.
Like your hat.
Yeah, I like yours too.
All right, Bob. Thanks very much.
Okay, take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Well, there we go, Charles.
That's quite a large amount of work. I mean, I think encouragement to people, but Bob's career was not as an investigative journalist, nor was yours, and I think the tools are out there. If you're dedicated, if you're interested, you can find stuff to talk about that will, I think, as it gets shared, have more and more of an impact. I would encourage people to subscribe to Bob's channel. He's just starting out with the Jason Goodman approved number of subscribers there.
Oh, does he have 33?
He does.
You know what? I guess I must be the 33rd subscriber.
There you go.
I didn't even realize that. But yeah, people should subscribe to Bob Bishop on YouTube. He's got a ton of videos here of these interviews with different migrant families and individuals there down at the border. I've been to San Antonio, Texas, Charles.
Have you?
Yeah, I mean, it's one of these places where, listen, no dissing on San Antonio. It's like, oh, you got to go to the Riverwalk. And you go there, and it's like, this is a mall. and it seems like you could fall right into this water if you're not too careful.
Well, I did want to spend, I know we've got to not go on too long, but I'd love to go and just talk a little bit about
Mar-a-Lago.
Mar-a-Lago, maybe put up the link to our video of yesterday so people who didn't know that we were going to do a spontaneous trip yesterday talking about this, you might want to watch this video. It's over there. Where is it?
Here it
Ghost Town. Yeah.
Joe Biden's America goes full banana republic. Yeah. A lot of people have been saying that.
Yeah.
And I think it's true, Charles.
And it's a great video.
Yeah, thanks. I enjoyed it. Yeah, people should definitely get on to Crowdsource the Truth 7, Crowdsource the Truth 8, Rumble, Odyssey, Getter. Yeah. And I really do appreciate people sponsoring the show on subscribestar.com/crowdsourcethetruth and patreon.com/crowdsourcethetruth. But there's a lot coming out now, Charles, about, did you know that this magistrate judge, Bruce Reinhart, they took down the webpage on the U.S. District Court page that tells you who he is. It's weird.
Right, but I think there's a big Zero Hedge story on that has a lot of these details. And when you think about this, we can maintain the pretense that in the FBI, Department of Justice, in American government, it's all about truth, justice, and the American way, and these are noble public servants. Last night on Fox, a number of people who are typically quite measured. So Victor Davis Hanson, I think he's very sober, or appears to be sober, and he's a great analysis typically. He said the American Republic is done. We don't have one anymore. I mean, he's
right. I agree. There were some people who were holding back, saying, we're on the precipice of a post-constitutional America. No, I'm sorry. The Constitution would prevent these things. Uh-oh, look at this. Russian spy planes enter Alaska Air Defense Zone.
Well, because they know everybody's busy. We've got the Armed Forces Woke Council of who knows what dancing. It may now be on a previous page. This is interesting here that the Trumps are coming out, and I don't know. We don't know. The facts are nobody other than the people who might have been there may know what actually happened there. And I think it is absolutely fair for people around the Trump family to suspect that things could have been planned.
Absolutely.
And
that's likely.
When you read this, I think this is from the Daily Mail article, and it's obviously from the Trump side saying what they're saying, but they're alleging that when the FBI showed up, they told everybody to turn off the security cameras. They wouldn't initially give the actual search warrant to the lawyer who wasn't there for about an hour.
That's crazy.
While the FBI was rummaging around in here. Maybe it's just an inflammatory comment by the Trump team to get everybody pissed off, but the notion that you would be searching for presidential records in Melania Trump's extensive collection of lingerie, which I would guess she probably does have, that's just outrageous behavior. And it's even worse if true that, the various people who are claiming, they read about it in the news, Karine Jean-Pierre, I've read about it in the news. We don't know anything more than you do about it. I mean, come on.
That's nonsense.
It's bullshit. I mean, that is even a worse answer than you did know about it, because to have some low-level person change constitutional precedent,
right,
allow this kind of thing to happen over, in theory, discussions about what presidential records Trump may or may not have retained, and to allow this kind of operation, 30-plus agents to go in unsupervised into somebody's personal property. Trump has a lot of personal property. He's got people who go and, I've got many clubs, many golf clubs. Are the people who have memberships in those clubs now going to turn them in, say, we don't want to be on your property anymore because...
Not safe.
It's not safe. Not that they're doing criminal activity, but they don't want to be the target of an FBI
probe. Don't want to be hassled by the FBI. You know what I noticed in this photo, Charles? It looks like, this woman is wearing a Secret Service bulletproof vest. So, maybe these are the people that are assigned to protect Trump.
Well, the Secret Service, in reporting I've read, was given a heads up. The director was given a heads up that this was going to happen, so that there wouldn't be conflict between the people coming and the Secret Service.
It'd be funny if the Secret Service shot the FBI.
Well, but or worse, are there people on Trump's Secret Service detail who are trying to get him? Just like, I mean, if you have the head of the FBI...
I believe there would be.
Well, you have the precedent set of the head of the FBI, dopey James Comey, bragging after he was fired about how he sauntered over to the White House and tried to entrap the president, and sort of dancing all over Donald Trump's grave, even as an investigation was being ramped up by drunken Robert Mueller to try to turf the president out of the White House. So you look at this, and I'm sorry, this is just a disaster. I'll take these earphones out, actually.
Yeah, you don't need those anymore.
Yeah, it's an absolute disaster because of the echo.
Yeah, I don't know if you've ever seen the video of the Secret Service agent being waved off the JFK limo.
I'm not sure I have.
Here, this must be it. Famous footage. JFK assassination, Secret Service stand down. Where is the moment that it occurs? Here we go. He's like, what? And the limo just drives on.
And then I don't really want to see him get shot, but...
No, it's not in this video, but it does obviously happen shortly after that. So, the notion that the Secret Service... And don't forget, the Secret Service is getting in trouble for like beating up hookers or not paying hookers or something really not that secret.
Well, and the Secret Service director actually reports to the Secretary of the Treasury, who we know is a babbling buffoon fool, Janet Yellen.
Didn't they delete their texts?
Yeah. Yeah.
So, I mean, this is yet another incompetent agency.
Right. So,
it's criminal.
That's July 23rd, yeah.
But it's not that long ago. It turns criminal because they want me to pay to read that, but there's no shortage of scandals with the Secret Service.
Right. So if we go...
Oh, yeah, they were disguised, duped Secret Service agents. It's kind of a wreck. Why don't they close that along with the FBI?
Yeah, and then we can afford the IRS agents. Well, we'll turn those all into investigating charities. I don't know if you've been on the site Rantingly, but I want to give a shout out to them if that's okay.
I check it frequently.
Yeah. There's somebody you know.
Trump?
No, here.
Oh, wow. Look at that.
So they picked up this piece that the American Thinker was kind enough to publish. And I would encourage folks to follow all these links. In particular, if you go to the very bottom, this is something I separately retweeted, the final link, I think. Let's see.
Investigated yet?
Let's try that one. Yeah. Yes. This is an article I wrote on October 6, 2020, so before the election. But people have asked in the past, where do I get off saying that there was an informant who came in January of 2016? This provides the links. Page 463, we know that the FBI did, you don't need to open the link, the FBI definitely opened multiple investigations into the Clinton Foundation in January 2016. Then we see here, further down, that on page 122 of part 23 in the FBI vault file, we can maybe hit that. Let's see if how good a job it is. We got to do page part 23, page 123. Like that, I think you want to download it. We'll just go when it comes up direct to page 123. Okay, is this page 123? No, this is page 1. So we have separately covered this in the past.
Whoops.
Yeah.
That's amazing how it just shot to 170.
123.
23. There we go.
Okay. I think maybe this is where...
Look at this. The evidence I am providing, along with what you have already acquired, should lead to convictions for the many people involved. Our president has the right to pardon federal crimes if he or she in the future so chooses, but America needs its Attorney General to show us that no employee of the United States government is above its system of law and justice. Who is saying this?
This is the senior State Department informant who and I think if you go a little bit further back, you might get to the introduction of it. Yeah, here's the memo. January 10th, 2016. So the FBI has opened an investigation around this time into the Clinton Foundation. And here's a senior State Department employee providing bona fides. The FBI, in its records, knows who this person is. Now, it's interesting, this person has a spelling issue because he or she keeps calling Hillary with one L. Hillary Clinton, and that appears throughout, suggesting to me that he may not be of American origin. It may be that
There's a lot of smart people who can't spell that well and don't use spelling check.
But here it is again, Hillary Clinton. Anyway, the sum and substance is a letter goes directly to Dopey as an FBI investigation is opened. Dopey Comey had been in charge of the original Clinton Foundation investigation that was a disaster, 2001 to 5, and a joke, but maybe from the Clinton standpoint was a resounding success. And this person says, hey, I'm a senior State Department employee. Here's my stuff. I'm sending you some stuff, Comey. I want to meet with you, go into a skiff, because I have a high security clearance, and I want to explain to you how Hillary Clinton and others are breaking the law. This is January 2016. This is approximately 4 months before 4 or 5 months, Assange gives an interview in which he says, hey, I have information that would put Hillary Clinton in jail. Now, this senior State Department spokesperson suggests, the way I read the letter, is it's not simply Hillary. It's Hillary, it's Obama, it's probably Biden. It's that he is aware of how the senior officials in the Obama administration are engaging in criminal activity. And what might that be? As a guess, if it's State Department, it's probably this thing we talked about, grant money going to foundations like the Clinton Foundation and then disappearing. Grant money going to the Global Fund and disappearing and ending up back in the hands of these politicians. So this has been, people talk about there's no evidence of problems.
There's no evidence, Charles. Right. I don't see it.
Exactly.
James Comey's there playing with the Legos.
Right. So if we go back into the body of the article, this is an article, that's Bob's article, my article. Maybe we lost it.
No, we got it. It's just sometimes takes a little while to find them again. What was it in?
American Thinker.
Where did it go here?
So maybe you just have to go into Google again. Second one. Yeah.
There we go.
Anyway, they're trying to suggest, this team on crack in the Biden administration, that this is about Donald J. Trump not handling presidential records properly. Now, I looked into this between the last time we spoke and the time of this broadcast, and I discovered that the National Archivist, we talked about this in the past, has enormous power to decide what is a presidential record and what isn't a president. It's up to him to decide, do I want to accept this contribution of a presidential library to the National Archives? Remember that the Clinton Foundation did not contribute a standalone facility to the National Archives. They entered into a long-term 100-year lease agreement,
right,
or longer, a perpetual grant with the perpetual license with the National Archives to convey a use right to a facility that is technically still owned by the Clinton Foundation, but the Clinton Foundation doesn't exist. So you're sitting there as the doesn't lawfully exist. You're sitting there as the head of the FBI, National Archivist. You're trying to say this guy Trump doesn't know how to hold on to presidential records. What in the F are you talking about? The history of the Clinton Foundation, going back to its inception. Bill selected with Hillary the site of the Clinton Foundation at a time when the Clinton Foundation didn't exist and when Bill and Hillary had no technical connection to the organization, which also didn't exist. I mean,
I have a question, though, Charles.
Sure.
How could the National Archivist know? So it's a classified document, meaning nobody has seen it except for people with security clearances, and it hasn't been sent. How can the National Archives be like, hey, you're withholding something that we don't even know about?
Well, I think that I don't know about the National Archivist himself or herself, but I believe, because I have a book written by David Alsterbrook, who was the head of the Bill Clinton Presidential Materials Project and the library transition. He also did the same thing for H.W. Bush's library. I believe it talks in there that the team on storing presidential records has to have people on it who have the clearance, who can look through this stuff and say, wait a minute, this is still classified, and this isn't, and this we can't show to the public, this we can. But as a guess, I mean, there's so much information that in theory would be created before it was shredded and bleached, bit, and hidden. I digress. But there's so much legitimate information that would be, I would guess, would be deemed presidential records. That is probably a messy process to go and categorize it all, and you might have multiple drafts.
They've spoken about this. They've said that this is a procedural thing where every president leaves with stuff, and there's a little bit of back and forth of like, you have this, here it is. And the thing that everybody's been talking about that's so strange is that they've been cooperating. I mean, this is another one of these show trial type things where they can put it out on the news, and idiots like that dope who we spoke to on the street yesterday just say, oh, he took documents, no need for a trial, no need for evidence.
Straight to jail.
The news said it, put him in jail. There's probably documents in this building.
Well, it's like anything. When you go, there's a very funny Yes Minister episode. It might be Yes Prime Minister episode when they're out in the Middle East, and the Prime Minister's wife has been given a gift. That's the book. Yeah, this is a very good book. It's actually well written, and there's a lot of context, a lot of helpful information, a lot of records that are available, I think, about the whole Clinton Foundation and Bush Foundation processes. And these records are going to be very useful come the inevitable criminal proceedings, which I hope will happen.
Doesn't look too easy to get, though.
Anytime you ever want a book, I know I got a guy. I got a shop. No. There's a very good. It's called Shakespeare and Company. They're very good.
I mean, you can get it, but they don't seem to have, like, you don't have Kindle and everything. Like it's.
This is an archivist, man. He wants hard copies. He's dead, this guy, but I mean, he's a guy who specialized in, like, I want the paper. He's my kind of guy. Give me the book. Forget the electronic version. But the article that I did in American Thinker calls out this idea that this is a legitimate raid. But did you know? Somebody was saying. I think Brett Baer said last night. Do you know what day August 8th also is in American history?
The destruction of the U.S. embassies in Nairobi and Kenya?
Brett implied it had something to do with Nixon's departure. I thought Nixon departed after the 8th, but Nixon definitely left in August of 1974.
Oh, you're right.
August 8th. So they do this raid on August 8th.
So that's not a coincidence.
I don't think it's a coincidence at all. I mean, maybe I have way too much faith in what remains.
You see a conspiracy around every corner.
No, it's the process. If you're trying to get cars, let's say there's 10 cars with a total of 30 agents to converge on Mar-a-Lago. You know there's Secret Service there. You know there's local police could be there. There could be visitors. There could be guests. There could be work people. There could be family members, whatever. I imagine that you have to plan. You have to say, well, where should we meet? Where do we depart? When do we give the heads up, etc. Why did they pick August 8th, 2022? Was it perhaps because they looked in they consulted a feng shui master and whole bunch of other people, Moloch and whatever, Moloch experts, and got together and said, this is a propitious date? Or did they look at this and say, there's a lot of significance to this date? This is an anniversary of when Nixon was turfed out. It's the day before the elections. The primaries and a bunch of
It's the Nixon thing, Charles.
No, it's also the primary, and we're going to show this Trump guy who's in charge. We're going to put another spiked heel into his neck, and tell him to just cut the shit out and give up. And what I found was fascinating. I mean, I do watch Fox perhaps too much, more than I should, but it's the tenor of the last 2 days on Fox has been very different than it normally was.
Pretty energetic.
Well, it was, Monday it was no commercials for 2 hours, from 8 until 10, and just nonstop tirades. But then it emerged that
National Pillow Index fell as a result of that.
Yeah, exactly. Mike's like,
Consumer Pillow Index.
I can't sell any
CPI.
I can't sell any slippers, and shirts and whatever. My store. But then word emerged today, I think, that the fundraising for Trump.
Oh yeah, record-breaking.
All-time records. And then he goes, and they're going to make a big deal. They knew he was going to have to be deposed by Letitia James.
Well, right.
And then Hillary, I don't think she spontaneously came up with it, but her emails. I wonder, is there a return policy? Should we encourage our viewers to buy a whole bunch of them and then return them? Because that's got to cost a lot of money to.
I don't know if we can do that.
Right. Well, maybe we would never suggest that. But anyway, I think this isn't going as well as she thought it was going.
Doesn't it seem like every single plan they make doesn't go as well as they thought it would go because their plans are stupid and they are pretty boneheaded?
I'd say that's a fair characterization.
Oh, every but her emails had or shirts sold helps Onward Together.
Here we go. Shop Onward Together. Let's just put it up there. Let's just hit that link.
You want to get in on the grift?
Let's see how much she charges for a hat. $30. But her emails, they come in what size? Pointy head, no brain.
I mean,
4 interest-free installments.
Pre-order. What interest-free? You can put the hat on layaway, Charles. This is for the less fortunate.
Everybody knows you're going to put the money into the site. You're not going to get any hat. No hat for you. I get your cash.
And then they just charge your credit card indefinitely.
Right.
Oh, boy. And here's a picture of Hillary Clinton from 50 years ago.
I know. How did they get that hat on that head?
I think they could probably use Photoshop.
You think?
To do
Can
that.
you tell whether that's Photoshop?
Yes, because the hat was just invented yesterday, and this picture is from 1986.
Right. But I mean, you can't see the properties of the photo.
The shadow does not look realistic to me. That looks added. I don't think that's the way the shadow would look. If you look at these shadows under her chin,
right,
it's way more subtle.
Is there a recent picture of her that you could maybe get? And we can compare and contrast, because I think that would be interesting. Her skin looks awfully taut in that picture. Hippopotamus.
Yeah, it's not funny if you could see what I'm typing, but there's a recent picture of her. Wow. Well, get an extra large hat.
That's awfully close. Those pores do not appear well taken care of. 2 L's.
I thought I had this so small when I'm typing from over here. There's that one where she was walking on the beach.
Yeah, this one here. This, and that.
Push her back.
Not that one. No.
And somehow that didn't link to it. Oh my gosh.
I mean, that's a different. I mean, people age. We all age. But
yeah,
but
she's aging.
I mean, look
badly.
at this. The stakes are enormous. Look at this.
Or this. You're not allowed to eat steaks. You got to eat micro bugs.
I mean, that's obviously Photoshop. Badly so.
I don't know if that's Photoshop.
No, the hat picture.
Oh, yeah. I mean, she is not pleasant to look at. Like when I was in her presence at the bookstore, I'm sure I must have asked her something that she didn't like, but I mean, the glare, the most noticeable aspect, in my view, when I met her personally, was that her eyes were gray and glassy. in a way that I have only observed previously when I met with a friend of mine who was having a heroin problem, and I told him he's got to get his life together. He had the same exact gray, the whites of his eyes were gray, and his eyes did not look like eyes, they looked like glass.
Right.
That's what Hillary Clinton looked like to me.
So this was a stunt, and in my case, I was noticing that the people, Fox was not showing his rallies. They hadn't given him an interview until I think the last one was April of this year. And when he was on, I forget, with Hannity, and he said with Hannity that he had won the election, and that pissed the Fox people off. So the rumor is they wouldn't let him back on. And I think people were romancing the idea, well, maybe we don't need Trump, and maybe we'll get DeSantis, or he can do the same job. But with this boneheaded move, and then the reaction of the idiot who's pretending to be the White House press secretary, we didn't know about it. That's not credible. On top of which we have, Nancy Pelosi coming back from the dead.
100% worth it, she said the trip was. Charles, a 5G cognitive stunt. This is something that David Hawkins talks about, and it was interesting that you just said it was a stunt, because I agree, it was. But this is cognitive, computing, Min Chen and all kinds of stuff like that.
Yeah, they thought, and it's just like, in fact, I think it's like the October surprise of 2016. They thought, they knew about the Billy Bush tape. They knew that they could, stoke the indignation of the people who actually believe that Hillary Clinton is a woman's rights icon.
Neckectomy.
Exactly.
Necktomy.
What's that Star Wars character that's just
Jabba the Hutt.
No, that one, but no, the other one. Captain Kirk. Just the head.
Captain Pike.
Captain Pike.
He can only beep.
Right.
But now Captain Pike is more popular now than he ever was in the first show, where he was just a head. He's a full guy, and they're doing prequels and everything now, before he got put in the box.
Yeah. So this stunt is a train wreck. They thought that what they would do is put Donald Trump in a box. Bill Clinton's, like Captain Pike. Bill Clinton's 76th birthday, I think, is on the 19th. There are probably all kinds of fundraisers. Biden, have you played the tape or seen the tape of Biden trying to put on his coat?
I did. It's terrible. He's standing outside the helicopter, unable to make it work.
I mean, you would think that we can afford, and maybe we can't because we're sending all this money to Ukraine and elsewhere and to crooked charities, but you would think that we can afford to have an air-conditioned helicopter, and you'd say to this oaf, listen, we'll send the coat to the dry cleaner, just wear it so you don't have to put it on in the wind and look like an idiot.
He's just completely out of it. Charles, I think the original Captain Pike in a box could run against Joe Biden. I think the actor is dead. It doesn't matter. You just bring this guy out and run him against Joe Biden. He's way more capable.
I think I could run whatever this is.
That's a remote control for the fan.
Yeah.
But I mean, we're laughing and everything, but it's not a laughing matter. So let's just talk for a second about the Trump taking the fifth. There's been all this discussion about taking the fifth. And, it's important. They brought up something that Trump had said a long time ago. We're like, why are you taking the fifth if you're not guilty? You're not allowed to do that in court, to try to convince the jury that the person taking the fifth, that must mean they're guilty.
It's quite the reverse. You have to
right.
Point out the opposite. Yeah.
But we're not in danger of it being a post-constitutional America. That would be receiving the notice that we're going to come kick in your door if you don't do X, Y, and Z. Doing it indicates we're in post-constitutional America.
Well, and if you remember the Lois Lerner crisis, when she was called to testify before Congress, she swore an oath to testify truthfully.
And lied.
Gave her side of the story first. Made a pitch before any questions were answered, made an opening statement, and then invoked the fifth. You're not allowed to do that at all. You can do what Trump
say anything.
You can't say anything and then take the fifth, is my understanding. You can take the fifth, as Trump did, and there's nothing that the prosecution can do fairly to you in the trial and say, because this guy took the fifth, obviously he's guilty. You can't say that. that would gut the prosecution's trial.
Well, super duper constitutional supporting attorney / professional liar, in my opinion, Alan Dershowitz, last night in his podcast implied that somebody taking the fifth, he said, I would never take the fifth. I haven't done anything. So he's implying that taking the fifth, exercising your constitutional rights, demonstrates some guilt, which is the stupidest thing ever. And he's supposed to be a professor emeritus of law. I think he's actually just a well past the expiration date lying scumbag.
I think you're just not pronouncing it properly. He's a professor emeritus.
Meritless, exactly. He's lied about me publicly. And the other thing that he said last night is that he's threatening people, that he'll sue them for defamation, and he's written a book about the price of principle. He is the most unprincipled, deliberately lying, manipulative practitioner of lawfare. I think, understanding how I'm seeing his tells.
Right.
Now that I've observed him and grilled him and everything, he's a liar.
So hats off to the arts department. We always fail to congratulate the art department soon enough. I want to reveal that, I wanted to go harder here, but our lawyers decided we couldn't use the title that I wanted to use. Instead of
what was it?
Senile Padre. It has something, it's only 4 letters, and Epstein is related to it.
Right. Yes. Well, that's the thing that Alan Dershowitz says he'll sue everybody if you say, and that you shouldn't defame people. He's warning people about that. Of course, he defamed me, and when I spoke to him about it, he said he doesn't care. I should sue him, and he would relish a lawsuit from me. Because obviously, that's like me threatening Michael Jordan to a one-on-one basketball game. I don't think he's
sneak
worried
around
about it. Yeah, I don't know about that.
But what a group here. What a sad state of affairs. I mean, to think that Joe Biden, with all this, would take Hunter on his trip down to South Carolina.
It's unbelievable.
You got Paul, what's it? Is it Paul?
Pelosi Jr.
Paul Pelosi Jr. is on the trip to Taiwan. They're trying to hide that. On the board of multiple companies with interest in Taiwan. Nancy gets off the plane and defiantly says, it was a great trip. No one's going to tell me what to do. And besides, everybody knows that China is one of the freest societies on earth. And then they have to whisper to her, that was Taiwan, not China.
I mean, she's just so out of her mind.
Yeah. And again, I have actually great reverence for accomplished people who've lived many decades. Some of the wisest people, my father, for example. But I mean, I happen to have known in my life a large number of people who've made it into their 70s, 80s, 90s. My great-grandfather, 103. And people like that, who really had some experience, they tend to be, the ones I've met, open-minded, willing to think that maybe the status quo is not perfect and there's a better way of doing things, willing to believe that experts are wrong. They're not these automatons like Nancy Pelosi or the younger version of Nancy Pelosi, A.O.
Nancy Pelosi is just a boozy old dope, in my estimation. She cannot complete a sentence. All these people who want to be on television every day but are so obviously terrible at public speaking and thinking on their feet and answering questions that are difficult to answer. I mean, it's literally like me joining the NBA and being like, what do you mean? I'm a center forward for the Knicks. It's like, yeah, but you can't jump. You're 50.
You can't dance.
Yeah, it's like, what are you doing here? You're short. It's ridiculous.
But you see, that's there. I think we could, in a sidebar conversation, we could revolutionize the sport. Just lower the rim to 7.5 feet.
It's
you
not,
could dunk at 7.
All Jewish guys should be allowed in. It's not equitable.
Yeah, and for a penalty, you got to tell a joke, and if it's not funny, they throw you in. I don't know. You can have some fun with that.
Pretty bad at basketball, Charles. I don't think people would want to watch it.
But it would be a different story if you could dunk, right?
Well, there was some pretty short guy who was famous for jumping really high. But I mean, I can't do that, and I'm too old.
No, I know. I'm just saying, but if you change, basically, like these guys are doing, just change the rules of the game. When we said deficit, eliminate the deficit, the way we're going to do that is we're just not going to count it.
Right. And also recession. No, it doesn't mean 2/4 of you losing all your money and gas going up and us stealing. That's not what it means.
But what I love is when you drag this moron out of the basement with his team of people, Joe, and apparently there was some event where he shook Schumer's hand.
Oh, and then he was a second later waiting, and he was like annoyed that he missed the handshake.
Yeah, that's not good. But you get up there and you say, look, this is an epic event. We've raised all this money to reduce inflation now. We really need the money for a special purpose to reduce inflation now. Without this money, we won't be able to reduce inflation. Meanwhile, there has to have been a draft of the CPI number that somebody around the Biden administration knew was going to come in a lot less than it. So if you held the vote after you knew that inflation was already declining, you think we still would have asked the taxpayers to come up with who knows how many $100 billion? There we go.
They would keep asking for billions.
Spud Webb, yeah.
Yes, one of our viewers in the comments just refreshed my memory. This is part of the whole Spud Webb dunk contest, 1986. Right, I was in high school when this guy was going. And I think they had a video game. Yeah, there he is. He's super short compared to everybody else, but
I wonder what he's doing now.
I don't know.
Is he alive?
Let's just look. There he is. Wikipedia, 1963.
He was born in 63.
It's not that old. He probably has a podcast or something, or maybe
5'6".
I mean,
wow.
He's one of the shortest guys in the NBA, I think.
That he could dunk?
He's the president of basketball operations, the Texas Legends. That's probably a pretty easy job and something good for him to do. Oh, he's not that much older than me, actually. I didn't realize that. Dallas. Oh, look at how much he weighs, Charles.
That's incredible, because some of those guys out on the court are big.
7'9", we just learned the other day.
Well, how big is, if you punch in Shaquille O'Neal, what are his dimensions?
He's not the tallest.
I know, but I'm not thinking of his height, I'm thinking of his weight.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, 7'1", 324.
From Newark, too. That's the dangerous. Wow, 324.
He's only 50 years old.
He's like 200 pounds more than Spud Webb.
So this guy running at Spud Webb, it would not be pleasant.
No, and there's some new Chinese player who I was not aware of who's 7'9". Could you imagine towering over Shaquille O'Neal? That's really something. How do you stand in a house?
How big is Charles Barkley? He's spending all his time doing commercials.
I think it depends lying down or standing up, because he's getting quite.
Let's just see.
Overfed.
Height 6'6". Does it give his height?
The weight, you mean?
Yeah, his weight rather.
Here, Wikipedia probably. Maybe not. He could
weight 252.
Well.
So again, almost twice as heavy as Spud Webb.
Yeah. Well, I guess that's why he can jump so well. Light.
Yeah. Anyway, a great poster.
Thank you.
Somebody has made an excellent set of points about Merrick Garland. I think it's in Politico. That obviously he has a massive conflict of interest, because basically Trump and the Republican argument was that Merrick's nomination to the Supreme Court should not happen, should wait for the election to pass. And that's exactly what happened. So he didn't go on the Supreme Court. And now I doubt that Merrick Garland, he's not playing it safe. I doubt that he had no knowledge.
No, he had to have knowledge of this. And in fact, that was a major portion of what Dershowitz was talking about, is how much he wants Merrick Garland to be on the Supreme Court.
Today he's saying that?
Well, last night on his podcast he said that. And he talks about how he remembers him from Harvard. He doesn't say specifically if Merrick Garland was his student. But the sense that I got from watching this Dersh podcast is that it's very much like the type of crap that the stupid Mario brothers do, where they're using these types of video broadcasts to send out one-way messages. Because what Dershowitz did last night, and I did a whole video about it this morning, Ghost Town NYC, people can watch that. But he basically laid out the explanation of how the DOJ will explain why they did this. And he spoke about production, you know, you don't want to incriminate yourself. So production incrimination, where if you write a document that, let's say it's your plan to rob a bank, and you write it down and put it in a drawer, and then a bank gets robbed, and you become a suspect, that's evidence. But if they say, okay, you have to produce this evidence under the Fifth Amendment, you have the right to not self-incriminate yourself by producing the evidence. If they can get at the evidence in another way, then they get around this whole issue. Right. But it was a very nuanced and complicated aspect of the law that I'm sure regular people definitely know nothing about, and I bet a lot of lawyers don't even know about.
Right. Well, if we think about the main vectors that are known so far, the one vector is this January 6th committee is up to something, and Trump has defied the January 6th committee, or his people have.
And they just got Alex Jones texts from an inadvertent disclosure in his trial.
Right. So that's one potential vector. And if, again, I'm not a lawyer, but if I were going to try to give legal advice, I'd be saying that we may lose at the first level, but on appeal we're going to win because the January 6th committee is not a valid committee. Just isn't.
But
it isn't.
I understand, but the problem is the time there. See, this is their plan. But because the election will already have happened while you're waiting for this appeal.
Right, but I'm Donald Trump. In theory, I got oodles of money. If it's January 6th stuff, I'm going to fight it because you're fighting an illegitimate committee run by a guy who's he's a racist, Benny Thompson. He was very actively involved trying to secede from the United States of America.
But is he really running it? I thought it was Liz Cheney.
Well, I doubt Liz Cheney or Republicans actually running it. I mean, the people. Anyway, so if it's January 6th, I think you're okay. If it's eventually, you're okay. If it's presidential records, again, I think you're okay on that. Particularly when we think about it, and maybe what the Democrats are doing, they know they've got a huge problem with the Clinton Foundation. Been over the Doyle Moynihan tax case that's been around for years. People can look and see how far advanced that is. They know they have a problem with that, so they want to get in the public mind that is a working theory that all presidents have problems with presidential records. So the Clintons stole a whole bunch of presidential records. So Hillary bleach-bit all these emails. Donald Trump did it too. Let's just have a global solution.
You're hitting on it right now because this is what Dershowitz was selling on Hannity the other night, and on his podcast he said, no, I support Trump. He didn't say he supports Trump. He said, I'm a moderate and I don't support Trump, but I support the law, and we shouldn't prosecute political crimes, he said. We shouldn't prosecute Donald Trump. We shouldn't prosecute Hillary Clinton. That's his message.
Right.
He wants every Trump supporter, including Donald Trump, to get on board with this notion that, oh, no, Donald Trump is in all this jeopardy over here, but we shouldn't do anything to him because it would be wrong. And if we agree to that, then we can't do anything to Hillary Clinton, Bill Clinton, Barack Obama. Right. That's what they're trying to establish as a precedent with this.
Right, I understand. And the correct workaround here is to say, now, wait a minute, this is not political. This is charity fraud and tax evasion. This is charity fraud and tax evasion. If we have sympathy, which I may not, or you may, if we have sympathy for people as president who are, quote, only making $450,000 a year when Jeff Immelt can drive GE into the ground and walk out with $500 million and $20 million a year of salary bonus, if we want to change the compensation level for presidents, maybe there's a trade to be made there. And maybe it involves, we'll raise your salary and benefits, but you can't have a book deal, and you can't do speaking fees, and you can't have a presidential foundation. You can't do any of that shit. Your presidential records are not going to leave the White House. They're going to go direct from the White House to a special new library system that we're not going to have in Washington, D.C., because we're going to move the capital out of, well, it's a side point. We'll have this repository outside Washington, D.C. in a place, in a state where the courts are fair.
Where is that?
I don't know.
Yeah. Well, hey, there's another thing, Charles. Jonathan Turley, everybody's been talking about Sandy Berger and the stuffing of the thing. So I had understood, I don't know that I knew too much about it before you started telling me about it, but I understood that he just took the things and destroyed them. They said he hid it somewhere that somebody retrieved it.
What happened is, I forget when Burglar went into the archives, but it's more than once. And he retrieved, on more than one occasion, he retrieved information. And no one no outsider yet knows exactly what it was. But I believe this is before, let's see, here we go. In October 2003, this is interesting. So in October 2003, this is before the Clinton Foundation's finished, right? The Clinton Foundation building was topped out in May.
And this had to do with 9/11.
Exactly. So this would be a scandal that a certain sitting president then, the Bushes and the Clintons, might want to make sure was covered up. So he goes in and he takes these documents before testifying to the 9/11 Commission, which I don't think was
Not legitimate.
Was it Tom Keene? I think was one of the vice chairman or chairman. But anyway, this is serious stuff. I mean, that he would do this, and he was disciplined for it, and he lied to investigators. Again, this idea that when something's a political operation and it's okay to lie in campaigns and lie to your supporters and lie to the American people because you're in service of a higher calling. This idea that lying is okay, and venerating a family of liars, the Clintons. Hillary has lied her entire life about her true interests in life, about her accomplishments in life, about her qualifications in life, about everything that she's ever done in politics or whatever. And Bill, lied under oath numerous times, but in particular, not simply with concealing the sex stuff, but in a court proceeding, you can't lie under oath. If a president in particular should not be caught lying under oath.
The other thing that's come up about this is a very
Here. This is
subtle thing. Jonathan Turley said that in order to be charged under this, it can't just be that you accidentally, it's in a box and whatever. There has to be intent to conceal these things. And Sandy Berger going into the National Archives, locating a record and taking it out is obviously intent. Donald Trump having a bunch of people pack up his office and some of these boxes wind up where they're not supposed to be, that doesn't demonstrate intent.
Yeah, and I started but didn't finish the Yes Minister episode. When that's comedy, but it happens in real life. They go out into this fictitious country, and the Prime Minister's wife gets a gift, and the whole it's insulting to suggest that in local culture to suggest that the gift is not valuable, but on the other hand, under UK law, the Prime Minister can't accept a valuable gift. So they go back and forth. The wife wants the gift, and it's back and forth of the minister, the donor, Middle Eastern guy playing along and giving her the right answer. She wants to keep it. Oh, it's not that valuable, right? But when I imagine this is the case, that I know this is the case, that when heads of state go on trips around the world, they and their families are given gifts. And I'm going to bet that if you did a dawn raid on Schoolhouse Lane in Chappaqua and the adjacent building and Chelsea's apartment and the various places, you would discover there's a large amount of stuff
that's not supposed to be there.
And that's on loan from the Clinton Foundation or on loan for the National Archives. It's much better to have a $5 million painting on loan where the foundation is paying.
So if the house burns down, it's like, hey, you have insurance on that, right?
Right, and you can actually let's just. I know we're way over time, but just one final thing. If we go into the Clinton Foundation About section and look at the most recent audit. It's further down the page. Putting people first, right? Putting Clinton people first, I think. The About section. About the foundation. Yeah. Right there. Hit that one.
Doesn't seem to.
Yeah, well.
How are you doing?
Like what?
Are you black? I need a picture with a black person.
There we go. Reports and financials. Hit 2020. Audit of financial statements 2020. And then let's go into the balance sheet statement of position.
Where's that?
It's probably going to be like there. Okay, now look at property and equipment net, $79 million. See that? 79,841.
Yeah.
Okay, so now let's go into the details, probably like footnote 7 to guess. Just stop now. Let's see what this is it probably here. This one. This. No, keep going. Cash, investments. Here. Look at this. $7 million of furniture and equipment.
Ooh.
Now,
nice.
why do they have $7 million of furniture? That's a fair amount of furniture and equipment.
Nice furniture. There's a lot of equipment in there.
And earlier on, in earlier years, they had even more, I think maybe 4 or 5, 6 years ago. So you have if you're running a crooked foundation, which this is, I'll go out on a limb, is a fiction that this is a real entity. It is controlled on paper, in theory, by by Bill and Chelsea, which is something you can't do in this type of structure legally. But if you have such loosey-goosey accounting and relationships, you can have the foundation pick up expenses for the family. You can have the foundation technically own a piece of furniture that's in Chelsea's apartment. And if no one's going to check any of that, and similarly, if you've got 8 years as president and 4 years as Secretary of State flitting around the world on all these missions, where no one's really checking to see what goes into Hillary Clinton's luggage and what comes out of it in bills, who knows how many platters that Bill says on this form are only worth, $35, but they happen to be made out of solid gold and they're actually worth $25,000. Who knows how much of that happens with all these politicians, the Bushes too.
Yeah, I mean, for people to not, it's amazing how gullible people are. I mean, everything that they're doing here with Trump is just upsetting from the standpoint of not only supporting Trump, just how people cannot appreciate that this type of abuse of a person's rights are a danger to you.
Right.
That's what I was trying to convey to that moron on the street yesterday. And obviously we cannot help the morons among us, but this is...
It's certainly, I would hope that August would be a month where we could take some time off and relax, but it seems like it's going to be very busy. And certainly the Trump family are not going to have much of a vacation this summer. Joe's decided he's
like, hey, I'm out.
I'm out of here.
What is it, Wednesday? Vacay. Wait, we got nuclear war happening, China about to attack, economy imploding. I could really use a break.
Yeah, I think I'll go. I mean, I have a mansion in Delaware, and it's being air conditioned right now, and there is a carbon footprint associated with that. But I think what I'll do is I'll take the family on a private jet down to South Carolina, which at this time of the year is not hot. You don't need air conditioning in South Carolina, which...
No,
I mean
it's gotta be hot as hell. No,
well, how you got like 2 Indians with sticks making flames that are igniting the.
Christopher Wray also took a private jet. Why is the FBI director allowed to take a private jet?
I think we would be shocked if we knew the size of the private jet fleet across all branches of government. I wouldn't be surprised if Eric Adams doesn't have a private jet.
My God, they make all these idiots take JetBlue and sit back by the toilet.
Not JetBlue. Put them in the Hound.
Spirit.
Well, the Hound, the Greyhound. I think the Hound.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, you saw that this court to Giuliani. Giuliani has had some medical procedure, and he's claiming he can't fly. His doctors won't let him fly, so the court's saying you got to go to Georgia by train or by bus or by car.
Isn't he like 80 or something? How old is Giuliani?
75, maybe.
Why are they going to be such a jerk to Giuliani? Medical procedure prevents travel to testify in Georgia. I mean, that's a legitimate reason. They always want you to provide good cause. Oh, wait. He can drive 13 hours. Oh, that's good. Make an old man or an older guy who's just had surgery testify on August 17th. Former NYC mayor said he was told to avoid flying. Well, I mean, for me, I would drive anyway. But
it's tough. I mean, how old is he? You asked the question.
How old is Rudy Giuliani?
78.
Yeah, I mean, that's a hassle to sit in a car that long when you're 78. I have noticed, I met him, at that Young Republicans event and everything, and he looked good and he presented well and everything but he's getting older. He's slowing down. Yeah. He interviewed Joe McBride the other day, the attorney who's defending all these January 6th defendants. Joe McBride is doing amazing work. I mean, he is so much different than so many other attorneys I've spoken to, because taking this case is one of these types of things that most attorneys don't want to do, because they recognize that for the rest of their career, they'll be that January 6th guy. And most attorneys don't care about other people's rights and the Constitution and freedom. Even liars like Alan Dershowitz, who go on their own podcast and boast about their love of the Constitution. In my opinion, based on things he's said in the public and the way that he's acted, I believe Alan Dershowitz is fundamentally a liar, and my personal opinion is nothing that he says can be trusted unless it's verified by evidence.
Yeah.
Pure opinion. Anyway, Charles, it's been a very interesting conversation, and I know that people are very anxious to see what is going to happen to Donald Trump. Anything else you want to discuss?
Well, I think, normally I'd say this is a time to take the rest of the month off, because you only get so many Augusts. But I think, unfortunately, between the disasters in our city, state, and country, the looming disasters in Europe, across Europe, with Russia, in China, I mean, this is going to be a news-filled. This reminds me a little bit of August 2008, when people were focused on the Chinese Olympic Games, and the Chinese were projecting power, and they ran the Olympics better than any other nation. It was pretty impressive, actually. And then that finished, then right away we had the financial crisis hit in full force. Sort of reminds me about, this seems just qualitatively similar to me to the conditions in 2008. So I would expect a very rocky period from now through the election.
One last thing here. This is the dueling buses. Eric Adams has just decided to send them back to I mean, this is ridiculous, isn't it?
I mean, does a bus use fuel?
Right. We're just going to send them back.
I mean,
it's just going to be, how many buses do you have? Because we'll just keep sending more people. I think Abbott has a larger stock of immigrants to send. So, I mean, is Eric Adams just going to, he should just scoop up every loser in Washington Square Park and put them on a bus and
he
send
should
them to
go
Texas.
back to Texas. He'd probably go to Texas and say, it's pretty nice here. I think I'll stay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very bad, Eric Adams. I don't know what to say about that. But anyway, Charles, that is it for the treasure of the Senile Padre. I want to thank everybody for watching and remind people, I hope you'll become sponsors on subscribestar.com/crowdsourcethetruth or patreon.com/crowdsourcethetruth. It's super important, if you're watching the show, that you become a sponsor. Keep the show going. And thanks to everybody who is a sponsor. Hope you have a great day and it's not too hot where you are, and that you're not stuck on a bus to someplace that you don't want to go. But, sometimes that happens. Thanks for watching.